But they didn't kill this, not to get on this subject, but this was almost 50 years ago, when I was coming back to turn myself in to the U.S. I was watching a program on TV, and at the San Francisco Zoo, they was overcrowded with animals, and they had to teach them how to hunt before they could let them go. Okay, let's speed up. This paradigm shift from 2006. Paradigm is a pattern, example, or model, an overall concept accepted by most people in an intellectual community as those in the natural sciences because of its effectiveness in explaining a complex process, idea, or set of data. So a paradigm is like a yardstick, a measuring stick, and what it does is, it's kind of like a road map. You come to DC, you get a road map, and it tells you the street maps, you know what I mean? So it gives you a visual picture of the city. A paradigm is like that. A paradigm tells you where everything is and where you can find it. And then it weighs and measures whatever it is when you find whatever it is. That's what a paradigm does. Okay. If you want to improve or develop in small steps, focus on attitude and behavior. If you want to move ahead in giant steps, shift your paradigm. How you see the situation and your role in it. Abdul-Alim Musa. This is the important thing. How do you see yourself and how do you see your role in it? In this period of time in which we live in, we got two main focuses. Number one on the Negro, and number two on the immigrant community. And so, in this new paradigm that we're forming, we have certain things that we want to do, certain things that we should do. Some of the things go like this, is that first thing we got to do is, like, you forget yourself. We've looked at ourselves all the time because we've been having to fight. You got to know what you're doing. And you got to pay attention to yourself and your enemy. Okay, we would all have to agree that Islam has kept cruising along, and but now we have a situation where it's just like what we did yesterday. Everything involved in that had to do with a paradigm shift. Oh, how does that happen? Well, paradigms go both ways. You have a picture of yourself and how you fit in the global picture, right? That's your paradigm of yourself. That's where your self-esteem comes from. That's where your self-image comes from. That's where all of those things come from. Then you have a social mirror. That's a paradigm of other people. Now, those other people see you in a certain way, and you see them in a certain way. The clearest thing for us is yesterday when we was downtown, as simple, as easy as it was, everybody there saw us different than other Negroes. And even the Negroes, remember the Negroes come up? What y'all doing, man? Oh, just a second. The ones that were agents were mad. The ones that were not were amazed and almost happy. Y'all doing this? They didn't know why they was happy. They was happy because, hey man, y'all doing something for somebody for nothing. All these trucks around here, ain't none of them passing out no food. It's all simple as that. That's all we did, was prepared food. And it affected the paradigm how we automatically see ourselves. We're doing this fi sabilillah. But the other people, the paradigm shift in thinking is bigger on them. The social mirror is bigger on them. Because no matter what you say, no Negroes, we got to stop comparing ourselves with Negroes, but tell the truth. No Negroes ever give anybody anything. They never have a free meal day down at Masjid. They don't even think about it. In the Nation of Islam, you better not ask them for nothing. They're going to ask you. But they don't even think about, hey, let's go down and we wouldn't have been tired. We would have been feeding the Negro today. But I don't know about you, but you know when you go to them programs and your knees, standing on that concrete, does your knees...
I was exhausted.
Just 2 hours. You saw what I did. I said, well, the brother's in. I moseyed around and picked up the van, but that's about it. I was all in.
Right.
You know, in fact, I was starting to go in when we had all the stuff here. I set it up there on the table. I called Tara. I said, hey, how you doing? Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm down here, and I'm da-da-da-da. I said, well, that's good. I said, well, we got a little food out here that we needed. And I didn't avoid helping much, but I mean, I didn't help that much. I said, hey, because now that stuff about being young is important. You know what I mean? Come on. Hey, one trip up them stairs now is not a, hey man, just one trip. Well, after you cook, because remember standing on that, by the stove and standing on that's concrete downstairs. So that's why for a few days, it's like when the Eid come. When the Eid come, I'm done. That's why at night when it's time for Tarawih, I say, I gotta go, I'm done. I done did that, that's it. You just don't have no more. And that's not because of age, that's because of, so anyway, but look how the people saw us down there. First of all, they didn't hardly believe it. Then after the food looks good. And then after they taste some of it, hey, this is all right. Okay, the thing about it is it gives us a chance, first of all, how good you feel. Hey man, to say it's better to give than to receive is a whole lot of truth in that. Just giving away. It's better to take the price off the food down there that we serve and say, that's feasibility. You can pay if you want, or it don't make no difference. You know, what I'm saying is, definitely, it's better to give than to receive. Now, when I say forget yourself, that means we already have spent a decade of focusing on ourselves. And the enemy would think 100%. That means ain't nobody helped you, ain't nobody did this, ain't nobody did that. You're not going to be friendly with nobody. That's what they think. And that's why we're doing the opposite. That's why we'll be out there with the Negro next week. Whenever they have a program around. In other words, all the things that are looking outward, not inward. No closed doorism. That's our policy. And it's easy. And the other thing is it's good. You know, I haven't felt that good personally. I don't know how y'all felt, but I haven't felt that good in a long time. And we was just out there a couple of hours. Well, it seemed more like that on your knees and stuff, but that's just something that has to do with time. In our thinking, no payback. That means whatever has happened. No payback, no revenge. No revenge comes from what we used to always write in our notebooks to ourselves. No killer instinct. That means if you know that about yourself, you can't force yourself to have a killer instinct because you'll be going against your nature that God gave you. You know, kindness is not a weakness. You know, we put kindness, we want to change everybody from saboteurs, snitches, to liberators, and freedom fighters, right? Okay. So, it's like la tatraba, no reproach, no revenge. No. Now, okay, for the purposes of clarification, we will still have to clarify some of the things that's happened in the past. Because technically that's the reason we set it all up, but we're going to do as little as possible on what people would think is revenge, or even on clarification, we're going to do as little as possible as far as this. So they are. Why? Because we're looking to the future. Believe it or not, certain things about the government, but a lot of the stuff will deal with what is our attitude. Right? About the whole environmental circumstances. How do we feel about this? Okay, what name do we put on all of this stuff? Right? And remember what we talked about last, what we call it is basically what it is. Victory or defeat is what you call it. It's what you name it. There's no such thing as defeat unless you accept it as defeat. Now, there's some things that are pretty close to defeat. But if you don't say, what I mean to say is, if you find some good, some positive stuff in it, if you learn some lessons in it, those lessons can possibly be much bigger, twice as big, 10 times as big as the event itself. And remember, that's when the Hadith, the Quran, talks about going from ride to ride. Each event is taking you to one stage after another. Okay, so in our looking at things, this is what we're seeing. That we're going forward. And this is our attitude. And it's nothing like surprising the people. When we was down there yesterday, we'll say it again, it was a surprise. Nobody expected that. It's simple, but nobody expected it. Shoot, next time we go somewhere, we'll be able to do it on whatever level we want. We can go, if it wasn't, well, it was beautiful today, but they wasn't going to. Then it rained a little bit Friday, but if it had been clear, we'd have probably went down there Friday night and Saturday. Okay. But it's a surprise. Everything that we do, our attitude is not F the people, but help the people. Remember, there's 2 or 3 things that the system always works on. Number one, getting Negroes to fight each other. And number two is making you hate the people. They probably stole 50,000 little stuff around it. They do it all the time, every time, to make you suspicious and mad. That ain't working with us. It never have worked, and it definitely ain't working now. We say what one of the great Imams said, may Allah make it halal for them. If they want it, may Allah make it fine. If you want them shoes, may Allah make them halal for you. Of course, you stole them, but I'm saying we're not going to say F the people, we're going to help the people. That's where we're coming from. We're going to surprise the people. Hey man, I can't wait to go back to Oakland and just to surprise the people with happiness. Because they're going to think, Brother Tariq will know this better than anybody. When we first started going out with those flyers, after less than a week, first we said, yeah, we need one to say help. We took it and put them in the thing. No flyer for help. Some other flyer we had, a few other things we had. We said we stopped doing it. Pretty soon, we wasn't going nowhere. Why? Because that's not that would be the natural thing, because that's what I'm saying. We're going to go down and we're going to go on out there and we're going to tell the people what happened and we're going to blow this all out. This is a big propaganda.